That's it. So, hold on. Right. That was just checking. Right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, and welcome to the Parish Council, Hilton Parish Council, Monday, the 1st of June, the start of summer, apparently. And we're in short sleeve shirts, but never mind. Okay, so item 1 on the agenda is to receive any apologies for absence and declarations of interest.
Apologies from Andrew, from Willie, from Kieran. Is that it? Is that everybody? Is everybody, isn't it? Yes.
So that, yes, that's correct. So, everybody happy those 3 individuals are unable to make it this evening? And obviously the reasons for will be in the minutes. Declarations of interest.
Probably ought to declare common rights holders because there's some green issues on the common right holder. That's bear in mind.
Okay.
Depending how they say.
Fine. 5.3 is a green item. And
5.2 may also be.
okay.
Um,
And 4.2. 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
4.2. Yes, yeah, always issues.
yes. Yeah. Any more questions? Thank you very much. Okay. So at this point we close the Parish Council meeting and we open the floor to public who are invited to speak on the matters of the agenda. Would anybody like to start?
I'd just like to say, I just looked at the agenda there, Peter. I must admit I haven't looked at it tonight, but I'm, probably realise what your answer's going to be. But I'm a little bit disappointed that there's nothing on there from the public meeting that we had the other night. And there's no items on there at all.
No, there aren't. The agenda was prepared before Joe went on holiday.
I thought that's what you said.
So as we are going to make sure that is on the meeting for July, with the minutes of that meeting on the 19th, thank you very much, published before then.
Okay.
For full discussion.
Thank you.
Okay, a quick one. First, a bit of clarification before I ask the question about the question, if it makes any sense, of one of the standing order items. So in 1F, standing order says, subject to standing order 1E above, each member of the public is entitled to speak once only in respect of business itemised on the agenda, shall not speak for more than 3 minutes. That could be interpreted in 2 ways. I just want to see what the interpretation is, maybe needs clarifying. Is a person allowed to speak once only for 3 minutes, actually on more than 1 item that's on the agenda, which is why I interpret it, or can only speak on 1 item on the agenda?
Fine. Thank you, Andy. I shall we'll consider that and come back to you with a
Okay,
full
so my point, which is why I wanted to ask the question, was under 4.2, the working group update on the Green Management Policy document, because there was lots of discussion last week about it and the rewording, and Anne mentioned something there. I just wanted to raise something.
And wasn't that
Yes, you raised about the wording of that point. Sorry. So I wanted to raise a bit that Councillor Bates raised about the green at the village meeting. He said, the paraphrase, who owns the green? We do. And he said it's a very good suggestion the Parish Council consults the village and the village organisations like Feast Week, Football Club, Cricket Club, etc. on what they see the future of the green and what happens on the green. And he suggested a consultation of the village via leaflets, etc., and to ask us, what we want the village green to be used for. So I wanted to raise that as part of your discussion, I hope, as part of that item, because I know from the previous discussions, you were sort of deciding what could and couldn't be done.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it's for you to ask the village what they believe can and can't be done before you make any decisions.
So we have to take that into consideration.
Good.
Because obviously the Village Hall Committee asked us to give them special consideration if they wanted to use the green for any purpose. So we have to bear all that sort of input in mind.
But the rest of the villages, because we've all got an interest in
Yeah,
using it
it
for all
doesn't
sorts of
quite
activities. And I think one of the points there was somebody said, well, somebody might ask to have their wedding, party or tea there. Well, that's a perfectly good use of the green, I think, if they're villages. So I can't see why that should be banned as an example. So coming up with examples is something that concerns me a bit. Thank you, Peter.
Can I follow on with that? Because
Yes,
on
Margaret.
5.3 there's the request by Glenn Roberts to hold a boot camp. So the same applies there, doesn't it, you see?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'd like to emphasise that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Anybody else? Ian?
Talk as a parishioner. Item 2, to approve the minutes. Can I please have a copy of those minutes? I would like to see them before the next meeting. Once they've been approved, of course, so that I can just run through the sort of things that were said at the open meeting. Thank you.
This isn't the open meeting, that's the last. It's effectively the annual parish council
That's
meeting.
what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the minutes of the annual parish meeting as indicated at item 2.
Yeah. Which
Yeah,
is,
sorry, can I just
sorry,
clarify
yeah.
the annual parish council meeting or the annual parish
It
meeting?
says the annual parish meeting.
It says the annual parish council meeting. They're two different things, Ian. We
yeah.
had an annual parish council meeting
So
at the
when
beginning of...
will be then the question then is when will the annual
Parish meeting.
yes,
meeting minutes.
As I
As
said,
soon
they will
as
be
possible,
published.
I'm only back to work today.
yes,
so,
I appreciate that.
yeah, so they're the minutes that you want to see.
I want to, before my memory fades,
Right.
um,
No, that's fine, as
Yeah,
long as
that's
I know
not-
which
see
ones
what-
it
as I
is
said,
that you want to
as I
see.
just
or
said
maybe
now.
all of our memory fades, maybe,
As I just said
Some
just
of
now,
us
those
are
will
late
be
than
published
some of the
before the
early
July meeting.
thank you.
Just want to make sure which ones
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
okay, I understand the difference.
And these ones will obviously go on the website in
Yeah.
the next couple of days following approval this evening. Anybody else got any comments you'd like to raise? That's a fly. Okay, thank you very much. In that case, we'll close the public sector session and we'll go back to the agenda, which obviously item 2 is to approve the minutes of the annual parish council meeting on the 5th of May 2015. So these were circulated and everybody happy with those? In that case, I'd like to propose that they're accepted. Anybody like to second that? Thank you. And all those in favour? Except for Simon, who wasn't there.
Correct.
Thank you, Simon. And I'll sign those for you, Jack. And then we'll give them on. Lovely, thank you very much. So item 3.1 is item 3 is matters arising or carried forward from the last meeting for discussion and decision. Item 3.1 is A14 updates. Kieran's not with us this evening. Would you like to do this?
Yes, please.
So, sorry?
There's a lot happening.
There is a lot happening.
What are we now?
And it all sort of kicked off, if you like, on the 13th of May. We went to the... no, I'm trying to think what hall it was.
Commemoration.
Commemoration, thank you. The commemoration hall in Huntingdon, and the preliminary meeting hosted by the planning inspector was held. There were a lot of people there. The meeting was very process driven. I think we discussed this at the last at the open meeting, didn't we? It was very process driven. No evidence allowed to be given. Quite strict to the agenda. And following that meeting, the planning inspector has issued, and I would assume it's to all the people who have registered as interested parties, their Rule 8 letter, which details the timeline. It's been updated with various points, one of which is that on the 13th of July, the planning inspector are going to hold an open floor meeting in Hilton Parish, Hilton Village Hall, starting at 6:30 in the evening.
That's the 13th, 1/3.
Yes. The comment is on the Rule 8 letter that if you wish to speak at that meeting, you have to contact the scheme manager, Nicholas Coombs, by noon on the 15th of June. Okay, so despite the fact you are you have already registered your interest. If you wish to speak at that meeting, then you need to register again, if you like. I did ask Nicholas at the preliminary meeting, as this is advertised as an open floor meeting, whether that meant parishioners who had not registered as interested parties could still come along. He said yes. He said that those people would still be able to register to speak, but that priority would be given to those people who had registered as interested parties. So the parish there is an update on the website. The copy of the Rule 8 letter is on the website as well. Other things that are coming up, just after the open floor meeting, they advertise accompanied site visits. The Parish Council has requested that there is an accompanied site visit starting at the place where the bridge will be on the Potter Road, come through Hilton and go out to the bridge on the Low Road, so that they can see some idea of what the visual impact would be perhaps on the village, what possibility the proximity of the new road to the village, and therefore what implications could be for noise and air pollution. I've missed something off. I'll come back to that in a moment, sorry. I've just realised. If you forgive me, I'll do this bit. So we'll, for that site visit, again, if you wish to register an interest in going on that accompanied site visit, you need to notify the planning inspectorate by noon on the 15th of June, but the planning inspectorate will decide who it will accept to go on that accompanied site visit. I think they're saying, from what I read in that Rule 8 letter, it won't be, if you apply, you won't necessarily be invited to come along on that accompanied site visit. But again, if the good people of Hilton wish to show true strength of feeling, then obviously more people that ask to do it, the better. Yes, you can have bunting out one way as they came through. Following the preliminary meeting, the working group met with an alternative sound expert who gave us some advice about the fact that the Parish Council probably would be best to employ its sound expert to seek the views, to give us a report on sound readings, update his report from 2010, yeah, to update that so that we have a live document to present to the planning inspectorate as part of our submission, which again has to be in by the 15th of June. There are issue-specific meetings being arranged, and you'll forgive me because I can't quite remember the exact date of the specific issue meeting, but again, if you wish to attend that meeting, you have to register by noon on the 15th of June. So have a look at, if you've got a letter, have a look at it. It does set it out very nicely, the time scale, and what you have to do to be able to put your representations forward. The Parish Council's working group is going through all that, and we are just trying to make sure that we meet all the deadlines as they arrive. So the sound expert, a chap called Giles Parker? Yeah. As you know, at the last Parish Council meeting, we did have a discussion with him about what he could do to update his report, and he is the leading expert in the country on sound barriers and mitigation of. To get him to update the report that he did in 2010 would involve a charge to the Parish Council of £3,000. Okay? And under the standing orders, we would have to look at comparative bits. Thank you very much, Jessica. However, there is a clause that says we can, as an exception, under circumstances, go with what we think would be the best option. obviously the timeline is quite tight because ideally, if we could get Giles on board, we'd like him to give us something before the 15th of June. He is the leading expert in the country, but £3,000 is a lot of money. We do have a little bit of benefit in the Parish Council's finances from last year, as I explained at the last meeting, in as much, and we'll come to the payment of the bill under 6.2, whereby the Parish Council had allowed an amount for removal of Gravend streetlight, and we've got a credit note of £1,200 from that. We also made a surplus in the year with the other income that had come in of £1,300. So that if we take those into account, the actual cost of this would be £700 for the Parish Council in terms of depleting reserves, because we've managed to make a bit up in there. So I would like to propose that we do employ Giles. I think it would be prudent to. I think it would be good to get him involved, get that report updated. So I'd like you to consider that, please.
Are you asking us to approve the
Yes.
£3,000? I'm happy to go with that,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm uncomfortable that it's not on the agenda as such.
Oh, right,
I would
okay.
like-
Sorry, I thought that
I'm
was
just-
engaging
I'm-
sound expert.
Well,
would
it
have been-
doesn't, I'm just thinking that if I were to push them, I'd want to know how much it was. It's just information.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to pass it.
Yeah.
Not pass it, I'm happy to vote for it.
Yeah.
But I think it would need to come back on to the July meeting just in
Yeah.
case someone comes up with a valid point and move it in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not
it
a
won't be,
problem.
it shouldn't be an issue, but I just think that we're spending that much money, then it should be proposal to spend,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I think.
I agree with that.
Because
Oh yes, he needs to be employed ASAP, because we weren't, to put it in another direction, we weren't too sure whether to employ him, were we?
That's correct.
So we had a second opinion from a non-expert, that's an interested party, as
Yeah.
I said so, who was a little bit, what's the word, unsure about the figures that were being presented in the report,
Yes.
and felt that our baseline was quieter, and therefore it would be an advantage to prove it was quieter before it, if your baseline's down here, it's, so, and £3,000 a lot of money, but it's a one-off payment, and it's something that you can't go back on. In 2 years' time, you can't say what it would have been.
Yeah.
So
That's very true.
So I think that I'm happy to pass it, but I'm just thinking from a point of view of it should be back on the agenda, because hopefully it's been done by then anyway. That's a case of holding hand up. Should have done a bit better, but I'm happy to. Shall I propose it?
That's right.
I'll second it then. Is that
we can
including-
change our proposal to say that we would like it to propose that we engage Giles Parker Services at the cost of £3,000,
Yeah.
and that it will we'll bring it back onto the July meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm happy to second that.
Okay. If you're in favour, please show your hand. Thank you. And I'll ask Joe to engage in Fruit by working group will get him engaged, okay?
Given what Phil said at annual parish meeting,
Yes.
is it worth approaching the town trust to see if they could make a small contribution towards this?
Well, I don't think money is the issue at the moment, is it, really?
No, but,
At the
In
moment.
the meantime, we could ask for donation.
well, I was thinking along the two lines. I didn't know if the town trust operates their payments, their gratuities, almost like a fiscal year. So if they've got X amount to spend in
I
a
think
year,
yeah.
they get to the end of the financial year and they haven't spent it all.
I think it goes back in their pocket just more for next year.
Right.
But yeah, maybe we need to sort of engage with them, but I was thinking they might want to spend it on something that's a bit more visual. But I don't think it's not actually how you. I think financing isn't the problem at the moment, is it?
I don't.
No, I mean, what else would you say the reserves are for? I mean, if it can't be anything as important as these, then why do you have them? So I don't think there's no issue with getting the money, but I just think, as Phil said, if there's
It is for
funds
the general.
available, and they didn't use up all the amounts allocated this year. for
Yeah,
the opportunities.
it's just a problem if we keep going back to them cap in hand because they question why we're not funding ourselves. I did a comment last time when we went back for the car park repairs. And I explained it was a bit of a one-off. So
Could you broaden the question in a way and just ask the people in the parish whether they've got any thoughts, ideas about how else it could be funded? And if it can't, then we'll obviously get out of our own supplies kind of thing.
Okay, let's stick it on the agenda for July.
There's no reason why
And we
not
can,
to ask. is there?
Yeah. You can put that in.
Contributions great for the city, that kind of thing.
Exceptional times.
I think they've already contributed annually.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, that can be a financial thing next. It gives it more of a debate, isn't it?
Yes. So thank you for that. At this point, I'm going to correct an error I've made under item 1, which I've omitted to ask Ian to talk about, do his presentation as county and district councillor. So I do apologise, so I shall close the meeting again and invite Ian to give us his presentation as district and county councillor.
I think you had that at the last meeting, so I have proposed to...
I suppose it's only been a couple of weeks, isn't
It's
it?
only a couple of weeks ago, so I don't think... I think the county hall is still at county hall and halfway out is still in Huntingdon. Okay, and apologies from Councillor Doug Jew, of course, who is the other ward councillor for Huntingdonshire District Council. So I've got nothing to add. Thank you.
Nothing,
Nothing to add in the last 2 weeks, that is.
no, nothing come thrashing out of central government following the election yet.
There's lots of things that come out of government, but time
Too
will
early.
tell.
Okay. So I do apologise, Ian.
And 3.1, have we? Or can we?
I thought we had finished.
You must have.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I'll close.
Yeah, we're going to carry on with 3.1.
Yes, sorry.
There was an issue with the village hall, wasn't there? We need to have a bit of a working party to sort out the facilities that the HA or HE are going to need, aren't they?
I've gone back to her today
Oh,
with
yeah.
what we can and what we can't.
Okay.
What we don't.
So we don't need to form any sort of club.
No, working.
All their facilities we can provide, can we? All their requests.
We can, no,
No,
Sorry.
the ones we can't, I've told her
Okay.
we're unable to
Right.
provide.
Okay. So that's
because
in hand.
there are Wi-Fi isn't available
Athletics. Right. Okay.
unless you've got a very particular server.
Barely does my
But not
house.
Vodafone, I would suggest. Because,
So just
yeah, so, sorry. Fine, okay. So, any other points under 3.1? Okay, dog zero this so far. Sorry, Matt.
Can we do better?
Yeah. Item 3.2 then on the agenda is the Rural Housing Exception Scheme. Further information with answer to our questions. So, Parish Council wrote back to Frank at Huntingdon District Council and asked him, I think I may have mentioned this at the last meeting, didn't I? If a survey was to be undertaken, how much it would cost and who would pay for it. Then he said that that would be done by the Housing Association. Because, as mentioned at the last meeting, there is a request for a survey, well, there's a request for consideration to be given to a rural exceptional housing scheme above, in front of Huntingdon District Council at the moment, I believe. And we are requested as a parish council if we would like to engage in that process.
Is it specific for parish councils? It's a council, isn't it?
For?
Sorry, you were saying?
No, you were saying. I thought it was that the Housing Association seeking confirmation from HTC
Yes.
that housing need is identified.
Right.
Yeah.
Following a survey.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
But the way it should be done is through engaging with the parish council.
It's not the survey first of all, isn't it? Yes. That was when we had the meeting. It was always, it was laid out to us that unless there was a proven need as agreed by a survey.
Yes.
That's how it started. But it's a question of, I think, how often you do the survey, isn't it? It's the last time it was done X years ago. How often do you do a survey?
But I think that the point was that the last survey was done so long ago that it would possibly be considered to be out of date.
So it's a question of how often do you do the
Yes.
survey?
But if it's, we're not having to pay for it, then why not do it? Gives us up-to-date information and we better know where we stand, so.
I think probably we should do it, but again, notified parishioners that this is happening.
Yeah, I mean, again,
They are aware.
a point of view, if you're proposing that we have a survey, that would need to be on another agenda item. The proposal is that we engage HTC with a survey.
Yes.
But we're happy that all our questions have been answered, haven't we? That
Well, there were
we
three
know the
questions we
process.
sent back, weren't there? There were three questions which said, if a survey was to be undertaken, how much would this cost and who would pay for it?
£100, yeah.
And the answer to that was the survey would be conducted at no cost to the parish council and paid for by the housing association conducted by Cambridgeshire Acre. The question we said, the next point we made was said we would put it on our agenda and we're only intending discussing the scheme to raise awareness and our intentions to discuss a specific project. And the answer was, I understand, the next opportunity to formally update the PC would be the meeting scheduled on the 1st of June. And the third question we asked was, do you have any information on what effect there might be on the scheme should the Conservatives be re-elected and hold true to their manifesto pledge to extend the right to buy scheme to housing associations? And the answer to that obviously was not possible yet to determine precisely what any proposed legislation may say. Under the current right to buy legislation, however, the Secretary of State designates areas as rural for right to buy purposes. For those areas, anyone buying is required to only resell to someone who has been living or working in the area for 3 years. Alternatively, the landlord may require the occupant to offer the home back to them if they want to resell it within 10 years of buying. It could then be provided to a local person. My own feeling is that if changes introduce, some sort of restriction is likely to apply to exception sites. So, and obviously we're at that moment now where I guess the government is coordinating its policy on yes. So,
Put on the agenda for next month.
invite Frank to come and talk to us.
Yeah, so.
And what will the agenda say? Proposal that we engage a survey?
Or invite, could we not just, not just, but at this stage, invite Frank to come and update the parish council and parishioners at the meeting of what the ins and outs of the scheme are, what the current proposal is, and what would be needed to progress the scheme.
Yes,
The request.
even though we've met him, the parish hasn't.
The parish has, yeah.
I think that's good. I mean, could we also, between now and the July meeting, put somewhere on the website that says it's possible that we'll go ahead with this? So
The survey.
that people can start thinking about it, offer views and reactions.
As a time of the meeting.
Yeah. Not a problem. Fine. Yeah, so could I ask then Joe to write to Frank and ask him to come to the next parish council meeting?
Or his deputy.
Or,
We met. We have met him.
oh, okay.
And is the second point after discussions to vote and ask them to proceed with the survey, or is that we defer to the following month, following reflection?
Do it on the same one. I mean, I think why not have as a start of a plan that we will propose to go ahead with the survey at the July meeting, and if the conversation with Frank is such that that makes that not doable possible, then we can defer it. But if we don't, we automatically delay it.
So this could be subject to any questions from the floor and or
Yeah.
parish council can't be blamed answered on the day.
The only question is whether you leave time for parishioners to think about what they've heard and then go back to questions, but I'm not saying that, I'm just saying it's an option.
Well, we'll do
No.
that until the guys in here have told us.
We could gauge the response, couldn't we, first of all, and we could, but certainly we could, if it was felt more information needed to be made available to parishioners following Trent or Deputy's presentation.
Yeah.
Okay with that? Because I think that it is a topic that should be discussed.
Yes, because it's been out there for a while, isn't it?
Yeah, and maybe, but there'll also be more guidance from central government on what they're going to do with their policy on the matter. So,
In 5 weeks' time, won't it?
yeah, I'm not sure how high up that is, but there we go. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, happy with that?
It's not need proposing, seconding and anything.
Shall we? I think do we propose that that's what we would like to do?
I wouldn't have thought
No,
so.
Yes. Lovely. All right, item 3.3 on the agenda is 300-year capability ground celebrations, information on visit from film crew. Just open that information.
Only that the date has been put back to July,
Okay.
and I did send a chasing email to Ray and Nigel asking if there was any further clarification on whether any part of Hilton would be needed in the filming schedule, and didn't get a response yet, but
No.
given that it's been pushed back over a month, what was going to be quite pressing is now given us the luck for about 6 weeks, I thought, before they're due to be filming anyway.
Do we have a specific date?
13th, isn't it?
Yeah,
13th,
13th
sorry, 13th of July.
They haven't had a schedule of what's happening yet, so they don't know if Hilton's involved or not. They said they'll figure it on once they've had a schedule.
Just trying to decide how much gardening to do.
Well, 13th of July, of course, the planning inspector will come to town.
There in the evening. The item on that is that the Green Management Committee will be meeting soon to discuss what things need to be done.
Yes.
If they are coming here. There's no guarantee they're coming here, is there?
No, they haven't indicated at all. From the onset, it's always just been Stanton. And it's really only since we've got involved with CB 300 for Stanton that
Are they more engaging? Because they were, what's the word? Last time we spoke, they were unsure whether they could take us on board.
oh no, they are very engaging.
Good.
Been along to one meeting already, which we'll get back on.
Yeah.
I missed the second one, unfortunately, appointment. But yeah, I mean, the minutes are sent through to me, which obviously I can make available to the Parish Council in time for the next meeting, just to associate information. But no, they've been very helpful. It's just a case of, I don't think that as producers go, it's not high on their agenda to tell people what they're doing. Different consensus to focus for obvious reasons. It's where he resided, it's where he's.
Yes. It's all the material, they'll go elsewhere.
Yes.
Okay. Fine.
But I'll make sure that you guys know as soon as possible. That's part of my point in the email progress was saying, look, we want to give people as many weeks as possible.
Yes.
If we have to suddenly get the volunteers,
Yes. So,
Lovely, thank you very much. So item 4 now on the agenda, which is committee working groups and members' items. 4.1 is the volunteering group email responses. You gave us an update last month that
it's progressing very well. We only had a response just this weekend from the art club, so they're interested in attending. Correspondence with Julian, Village Hall, make some potential dates available Wednesday evenings in June, so we're setting on a Wednesday, perhaps in a couple of weeks' time, to give people notice that it's happening.
Yeah.
And obviously drop some flyers around to just let people know that there's a volunteer kick-off meeting happening. Engage with pretty much all of the groups that we could think of around the village that are already established, and just say, come on to the meeting. And what we'll do is just a bit of grain double information, things that worked well in the past, people that in the past perhaps have expressed interest in volunteering, and just try and get as much on the table as possible to them, and volunteers, obviously, if anyone will sign up. and use that as the kind of nucleus to kickstart things off, and then we'll perhaps set up a proper working party, much like the Green Space Management Group, and meet regularly enough to make some of these things start happening.
Absolutely. Yes, that's obviously pop it to the Parish Council before anything.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll feedback on how that meeting went, and the size of the prize potentially, and how many people would be involved, and what perhaps some of the initiatives could be.
Any questions? Okay. Item 4.2 on the agenda is the policy working group update on the green management policy document. So at the last meeting, the green policy document came forward and made some comments about the clause 4.22 and came up with some suggestions for that to be amended, which would then read that HPC defines the scope of the organised activities permissible on the green as activities for the general benefit of Hilton residents only. No scheme for individual group benefit or profit will be considered. All schemes will be judged on their merit with this central guideline in mind. All such activities must gain the written permission of the Hilton Parish Council Clerk before they can commence or indeed be advertised. Activities that provide benefits to the parishioners of Hilton, benefit defined as accessible by all parishioners, likely to appeal to a broad spectrum of parishioners, celebratory, uplifting and positive experiences. Activities not permissible on the green are those for which the provider is the primary beneficiary, limits access to a specific group, gains financially and or makes a profit for themselves, is not a parishioner nor commissioned by a parishioner. All applicants will be judged on their merit with the central guideline in mind. All proposed activities must gain the written permission of the HPC Clerk before they can commence or indeed be advertised. That's doesn't it? Yeah, so that would be moved. So this document is the updated document following the annual review of policies. Would you like to discuss?
I'd like to propose something. Given the comments made earlier about the use of the green and so on, could we post that on the website and ask for reactions from the village to say, two things really. One, how do you read it? How do you understand it? Because the only purpose of my intervention is for clarity.
Yes.
So how clear is it? And secondly, does it fit with people's expectations of how the green is used? Now I know we're subject to all sorts of rules, regulations, whatever about how the green can be used, but at least we get that response from people. We can say yea or nay depending on what we're actually able to do.
Yeah.
That's my proposal.
I'll go a bit further. I think if we're going to do that, I think we need to capture as much interest and all views as possible. So I think I know leaflets cost money, but if we can construct a leaflet that's not too wordy, that allows a bit of free text perhaps, almost templates down, things like previous point, is it clear to you, yes, no, what, that kind of thing, yes, no comments, something like that, and then get that drop around the village, and then gather that feedback in and then get an update to the council and see what the thoughts can be.
I agree with both those points, definitely.
Yeah. Great.
I would just say that this was on, or is on, the website.
Not with this clause.
No, but at the moment. It's on the
Existing
website.
policy.
Yes,
Yeah.
the red ones on the website. Red 2 has got a couple of issues. I was just looking through it, couldn't find them all. One is it's that comment we just read out.
Yes.
The other one is about a bit more limitation on horse riding. And the third one is the removal of the annexes with the maps that
Yes.
erroneous in. So it's, yeah, I mean it's the same that's been on there before without comment. And I think really what we're doing is trying to clarify, as per request, the kind of principles that the green's been run under all this time. So all we're doing is putting it in writing. This isn't set in concrete. I mean, we review it every year. So I don't see.
I mean, my point in a way is what do people understand by it, and does it fit with people's requirements, expectations of the green? So I understand it's on there already, the existing policy, but we haven't put on there, what do people think of it, how does it work for you, does it work? And that's my point. It's not just get policy on there, it's about asking people to view it.
But we would have to generally prove it, wouldn't we? We'd have to say that we're happy with it. What do you think? That's what we're saying, wouldn't we? Well, I thought we'd have to be happy with what we put on the website.
Oh, sure, but we don't have to approve the policy before we get those views, I would have thought.
I think we could approve that this document, as it stands, should go on.
And how long would you leave it on there for before we say, right? Okay.
3 months. If you think about it, we're going to go out to the parish, get their views back, discuss it, then like a voting on that March period reflection voting after, it feels like a 3 month block.
Well, we don't have a meeting in August, yeah.
True.
You've got your 3 months.
Yeah.
It wasn't that key before. It feels about right.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's a sanity check. I think a lot of people, well, there's two things. We don't get a lot of email traffic or communication requesting things in the grants. When you think how many parishioners we have in the households, we get very few requests. So I don't think it's a burning platform per se. But I think a lot of people won't read policy, so perhaps they're blissfully unaware that you can't, as it stands at the moment, perhaps hold a wedding on the green. You might think you just have the right to do it. And then you might find that it's viewed on its merits and it's knocked back. So I think just that sanity check so that people know, are you aware that you just can't routinely do these things? Certainly as it stands at the moment, anything that gains you a profit or either soul beneficiary, you wouldn't be able to do that. And it just might give people a sanity check to say, well, yeah, I can do that, that's fine. Or actually, no, I'd like to challenge some of those previous ideas and do something else.
So would red one come off? Or leave red one on? So we
That's the
update it?
approved document.
Yes.
So it's there at the moment.
Yes.
And
So
this
this is red 2. So we leave red 1 on. Proposal is to put red 2 as per on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And until feedback is sorted, whether that makes any difference to the wording or not, remains to be
Yes,
seen.
with an intent for it being discussed in September.
Voted to approve.
Unless something else comes up. Yeah.
This is like a celebratory uplifting and positive experiences.
Exactly.
Wedding.
Okay.
You done?
So we're going to propose then that we do as we say.
Would you
Don't say it on there.
would this need to have a watermark draft over it?
That would be a good idea.
Because otherwise they're going to get confused, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's sort of work related. It needs to be clear it's a red 2.
Yeah.
Can do that.
It's got issue 05 here, which is fine, but it needs to have a draft over it so we know it's
Yeah.
the one we're talking about.
We can get a draft with this. There's a way to do that.
Yeah,
If
okay.
you give me the document, Joe, that document, so the draft text, I'll make sure that draft is embedded into the pages.
Okay, stop.
And the working group will then need to meet next to the fire and
Yeah, the
Well,
policy.
they can update other things right now.
Yeah.
Need to make sure it doesn't get confused with the A14 flyers.
Well, I was wondering whether that could go out at the same time, but
Oh, I think I'm confusing. We always
Yeah.
try.
yeah.
I think the message really
I
is
think
that
people are going to get that confused over a couple of fires.
No, that's it's less about confusion, it's more volume.
But the most important
If
one
you're
at the
lucky,
moment.
you come through the same time with the pizza flyers and the other
Yeah.
kind of flyers, it could just be.
I think
yes. Short
the
times.
pressing one is to raise awareness within the village that by the 15th of June, you have to register for the open floor meeting, and then whether the flyer goes out on this the week after, that's fine. Yeah. But I think the first one we want to do is the A14 one. To focus attention. So, happy with that? Joe, proposal to put this on website as a draft, invite comments, 3-month open period, flyer to go out.
Okay.
Our proposer. Second, all those in favour? Thank you. So item 5 on the agenda is to consider any correspondence, communications received during requiring decision or action and any other agenda items. Item 5.1 is Doreen's resignation, and it says vacancy advertised. So Doreen resigned after the meeting, or just about the time of the meeting, after the agenda had been set. And you notified Huntingdon District Council, and they came back and said you had to advertise that immediately on the notice board, without a chance for it to come to a parish council meeting to be discussed. But so you put the advert up, and have you heard anything back from Huntingdon District Council at the moment?
Not yet, no. 14 days hasn't.
Oh, okay.
Fine. No, I don't think so. Not from when it first went.
13th of May, 27th of May.
Oh, well, I haven't heard anything back yet.
So the HDC will come back to you,
Yeah.
and then maybe by the meeting of July, we'll be able to announce what is happening.
Yes. I mean, I think probably what will need to happen, as previously, is if I don't hear anything back from HDC, I will then put a notice up advertising the position, and perhaps we will then be in a position, I would suggest, the next Parish Council meeting, if we've got any applicants, to consider them.
No, if it falls in that timescale, that would be great.
Unless you feel it needs to come back to the meeting before.
It is outside.
It's outside our control, it's rules, so.
I think we need to advertise it, and then any applicants I can send, as I did last time, can review, and then at the July meeting, take a vote.
That's fine.
Might I ask a question on it? Is it feasible, doable to ask Doreen to reconsider?
I have asked Doreen whether she would be prepared to remain on working groups, and she said no, she doesn't want to revert back to the other committees in that she was involved in within the village.
Okay, that's a shame. My second question. In terms, is it, if it goes to casual vacancy, again,
Co-option. Yeah.
Sorry, read the book. You don't. Could we look at the selection criteria? I mean, obviously there's a given set of criteria, but I'm interested in how we assure, for example, a representative balance from the village, that kind of thing. And there may be other things that other folk are keen to get out of having another councillor appointed. So can we revisit that, or is that in stone? Or?
I think the rules are just that it comes to to each of you individually, and obviously you, on the information that I've forwarded to you on each candidate, you have to make your decision.
So from that, only as individuals, and we don't discuss it?
No, it doesn't be discussed.
Ooh, how uncomfortable that is. Okay.
Well, if you discuss things, then you're imposing your views on other people. We can't be doing that.
It's not about imposing, it's about sharing perspectives and understanding, so that we end up with a shared view.
All discussion of parish council business needs to be at the parish council meeting. If it's on a working group, it can be discussed in the working group, but that working group bring stuff back to the parish council for discussion on decision. If it's a subcommittee, again, that committee comes back to the council, but you can't discuss business outside the parish council meeting.
The advert that we put up, is that a standard advert?
It is a standard advert.
So you can't say there's a vacancy and we list what the job requires,
No, I think
like you
there's
would do for any other job,
there's a set of rule, you know, must,
which you put up.
yeah, must fall into certain criteria. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so hopefully then by the July meeting, we will have more information back from HDC, and it may have been so if HDC come back and say within the 14 days, which finished on the 27th of May, there is no request for an election to be held, the Parish Council will fill the vacancy by co-option. If they say go ahead and advertise it, then we'll have to form the guidance on HDC to do so.
And our clerk can do it now, so it's involved.
Well, that's what I'm just saying, that if HDC come back, well, HDC came back and told Joe to put that up, and Joe queried it with them to say, should we not wait till the meeting? They said, no, it's not, go straight
It's
up.
not discussable.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So,
Understand.
but we will put a notice on the
Very sites.
website from boards, and
Standalone poster as well, I think.
yeah,
So it's not just
yeah.
minutes and things like that. Or agendas rather.
Do you know the website?
Yes. Yeah. No, just that standalone, so it's very visible, not, you know, a whole bunch of other stuff.
Lovely. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Item 5.2. 5.2. Request from Mark Stanton regarding possibility of the PC allowing new cables to receive Virgin Media broadband and publicising link to register interest. And Mark was written into the Parish Council. Our broadband connection is very slow despite the new Infinity fibre connection. This is in part due to BT's lack of adding some more cabinets in the village. There is only one in Gravely Way, and their refusal to update their cabling from the cabinet to our homes. Some areas, such as Camborne, got new BT fibre cabling to the properties, but I also understand BT will not do this in Hilton. The only other supplier that would consider laying fibre cabling is Virgin Media. Before they would commit to this, though, they would need to understand whether the Parish Council would allow the laying of new cables, and that sufficient number of villagers express an interest in taking up their service, which should be more reliable and up to 10 times faster than the BT offering. Residents of Hilton can express their interest by going to Wedding, and I would ask PC to consider publicising this link on the PC website and Spectrum. I'm happy to provide wording to be considered for Spectrum if they agree with the request.
Question?
Mm-hmm.
I remember when we lived in Stanton, somebody, can't remember who at the time, came and laid fibre optic cabling throughout the place. Whether we wanted it or not, something it was there. Is that not the case in Hilton? Do we not already have fibre optic cable?
Not from the cabinet.
No, I don't mean from the
I think-
cabinet, not BT.
Yeah, I
Is
think it was
there not
NTL,
some-
wasn't it?
There was a cable, wasn't it? Those green boxes are empty, aren't they? I don't know what happened with
But my point is, if there's already some fibre optic cable in the village, it would make the task easier.
it. If they wanted to take it on, they
Yeah.
might not.
Yeah.
This moment, I'm going to take a comment from Andy, because Andy was, did the BT Infinity, so I'm just about to close the meeting, open the floor. Andy.
Yes, thanks, Peter. And I was involved, actually, before I moved to where I am, in the Cambridge Cable did the cabling through the village at that point. So they had a big scheme of investment where they were going to put cables. In fact, they built like a spider's web of redundancy. If you think around Cambridge in the middle, and then the A14 and the A428, they built redundancy cables across. They've got a big exchange in Papworth, as you know, Cambridge Cable have. Well, now it's called NTL, you're right. Sorry, it's Virgin Media now. Second purchase. And they came through the village. They dug up the pavements, if you've seen. They put in little by all of the houses on the main street and one street either side. So that goes into Scott's Crescent on one side as an example. They dug up all the pavements around there, put the conduit in, ran out of money, put no cable in. So we have got conduits in there. A fibre came through the village and it effectively doesn't stop. It's like a motorway without any junctions on it. So those green boxes actually have fibre in them. they could be used to take out coax effectively to go into those all fibre, as Mark has suggested, could come from those. But no, unfortunately, they had, as we've found out, money issues, and hence the various acquisitions have taken place since. There was not economically viable for them to do it. I in quite a lot of depth at the time of whether they would do that. A bit like with Infinity, as a small village, it's incredibly expensive to put this stuff in, and it's not usually economically viable. So unfortunately, no, there is fibre to the village, but not anywhere in there.
If the conduits are there, then it would be, again, easier to just stick in the cables rather than digging up a new.
But it wouldn't help Mark, I'm afraid, because I don't think they went that far down Church End.
Get closer though, Mark.
So, then, any other comment at that point? What could we do? I thought you would just put his hand up. So the issue of Mark.
Virgin have indicated that they would be prepared to lay new cable. They weren't sure what had happened, and Andy very kindly brought me up to speed after I sent that note to the Parish Council. But they've indicated they are prepared to consider it if enough people are interested, and if the Parish Council will permit the digging up of pavements if necessary.
Yes. I think the digging up of pavements isn't the Parish Council decision. I think
they felt there had been an objection to it in the past, but in fact Andy's clarified the real reason. I don't think they know the real reason.
No. So digging up roads and pavements goes down to HGC? CCC. That comes down to CCC. But what we can do is publicise. Yeah? As an alternative, because if there's an alternative,
competition, good thing. I said to Mark, I'd be happy to put it on the website as well and promote it in the same way we did for Infinity. And if you remember the Race to Infinity competition that precedes that one, that we put a lot of effort into. So I think it's a good thing to have competition.
I think there was lots of discussion. I certainly know, talking to friends at the time, and I'm sure it was NTL, were heavily putting through stuff through our doors saying sign up, blah, blah, blah. And then you phone them up and tell them, no, not in your village. So if Virgin Media wanted to go ahead on that, that would be great. So
can I ask Mark then, what's Virgin Media saying, please?
In terms of?
Sign up.
If there's enough interest.
So what's enough interest?
I don't know. It's
because that's where we've got stuck in lots of villages in the past.
Is it?
Yeah. Is particularly in small villages, not big villages like Fenton.
Yeah, it's the viability.
It's the viability. So the question actually is,
how many people would want to take it up if it was available, and if I get that ammunition, as it were, I'll take it to Virgin and see what can be done. Sadly, BT won't.
I think that will be useful because I don't want to raise up too many expectations, because that's what happened last time with Infinity, was expectations were raised that you get it, but unfortunately people didn't get it because there was not enough that signed up. Yeah. It's a bit like a cart and a horse.
Exactly. So if we can find out who is interested, if there are, if I can make a case to Virgin, they'll publicise it at that point. But there's no point doing that unless people are.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And so outreach, what's their view?
Who?
BT.
BT, well, I can give you that if you want, but a wasted opportunity.
There was, I inquired this last week, sorry, just add to that. If you're looking on the coverage map, Rutland Green has got a white spot in the middle of our village of bad connections, and it's known to BT that is an area of bad connectivity. And they were thinking about putting an extra cabinet at the bottom of Rutland Green and Church End, which would certainly help Mark if they were going to do that. If we saw that they laid some new cable down there, they put a cabinet in, which I don't know if it's improved it, but that's still a dead spot. I've inquired of Connecting Cambridgeshire what are the plans, because BT's say for those sorts of areas they are considering some more money just coming, isn't there, Ian, to do those. So there may be a bit of hope that they might indeed do that by putting a new cabinet in to Rutland Green. So that's just a possibility.
The reason I raised that, Peter, I'm not averse to the principle because that's actually quite sound. Okay, it's actually how you get from A to B is what I'm trying to.
It'd be a lot easier to do it at BT because their infrastructure is already there, but they must be made to replace the cabling from the cabinets in Gravely Way to the
Yes.
premises, which they haven't been.
So if we could get some sort of idea of number of people in the village that would be interested, then you can use it as a double-edged sword. Can't you? You go to the Virgin and you go to BT.
BT won't. They said they're not contractually obliged to do it under Connecting
No, no.
Cambridge,
No,
and
but
they
if
just won't do it.
I think there's more.
If there is, I'd love to have the, perhaps we could speak later.
Yes,
Yeah.
it falls within my county council. So I know I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but there is certainly some discussions about further provision up beyond 2015, which is what we originally committed to.
I'll talk to you afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really mind who does it.
So just from
nor do I.
a sequencing clarification point of view, is it expressions of interest first, then the parish council give them their tick and endorsement as well, which helps the conversation with CCC? As you say, they're not
Yeah,
our
sorry,
roads,
I'm-
but you haven't got the tick box from parish council, I guess it's just another thing to
We
point
don't
out. saying
necessarily
that-
need a tick box from the parish council at this moment in time.
Well,
I think expressions of interest is.
Yeah.
That's
what we need to do.
Support would be good.
And I
Yeah,
think discussions.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
I think you've got a newsletter coming on, haven't you?
We'll do support, the support, and then we'll go in spectrum. And Mark, if you could provide your wording,
Thank you.
that'd be really good. We can put it up on the website because. And what sort of period of time would you like to say that people should express their interest within?
I don't know, what's reasonable, 3 months?
Yeah, that's it. Because otherwise it drifts, doesn't it? You want to focus it on a time.
And if there's any possibility of any indication of cost, because the first thing people ask is, that's really interesting, how much is it going to cost me? I don't know if Virgin will give you any clue as to what the connect cost would be for if they went and did it.
I was talking to them as a business, now it's quite expensive, but that led to a conversation about providing it throughout the village anyway. So, I don't know.
Yeah. And obviously if they get the idea of the numbers,
Oh, yeah, cheaper than BT.
it's not going to be the PC who say, yes, they can dig up, but it's going to be CCC.
Because
So that-
BT were saying that you could get the cable, but it was going to cost over £2,000 for you as an individual,
£250 a month.
and £250 a month after that.
So, thank you very much for your contributions.
Can I just say, sorry, Peter, can I just say one final thing? Might be useful, Andy will know who I'm thinking of, to actually for Andy, Mark and I to come with the officer that is dealing with this accounting.
Yeah.
Because I think there's nothing wrong with what is being said, it's just I think there are other avenues to follow through.
And I'm keen to pursue the one of least resistance, so
And cheapest.
no pun intended.
Yes, I have to work with BT as well, remember.
Does it go to spectrum? Or there?
So just one, can we not, we've probably done this already, in terms of Virgin Media, can we ask them for a village of this size, what is enough interest?
I'm not sure you'll get that. I think we need to find out who's interested and go back to them and say, will you do
It
it?
seems to me it's worth asking, and I'm not anticipating you'll get much of it, but it just seems...
I did ask that.
Seems that you're on hanging to nothing, that no matter what number you come up with, if the village is below a certain size, so we'll just say forget it.
My conversation with BT going back 2 iterations when we had the race to infinity, they sent me the spreadsheet of their economic model, and we just don't qualify, and we would never qualify, and therefore that's the issue. Economically, it's just not worth anybody doing it, and that's why this scheme of Connecting Cambridgeshire came along, because it needed investment to subsidise it effectively. So unfortunately, I think you won't get an answer.
Just
And it was a flagship scheme, wasn't it?
if it is a commercially viable in an area, then those companies will do it.
Yes.
If it is not, Connecting Cambridgeshire can intervene.
Okay.
And that's actually the principle that you start with. Because if it is commercially, legally, we can't do it. Cambridgeshire County Council cannot do that
Right.
under the legislation which is currently in existence. So we're looking at the areas which are not commercially viable. And that's where you start from.
Yeah.
And it rolls, dare I say, from then onwards.
But I don't think there's any harm in us promoting this alternative, better known, because you never know. Yeah. So, thank you very much for your contributions. We'll go back to the Parish Council meeting now, so we'll close that open session, and we will say that the proposal is that we do advertise this in Spectrum and on the website, inviting villagers to, we have the link here, inviting parishioners to register an interest to allow competitive discussions to be held.
And you, as the formulator of Spectrum notes, will you talk to Mark? Or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
Mark,
Good. Right.
let me have his wording and then we'll put it in. Because thank you very much. Right, item the 5.3, thank you very much, which is a request from Glenn Roberts to hold a pay for exercise boot camp on the green for local people. We have a letter from Glenn, which I shall read out. Yeah. Dear Joanne, I'm writing to you today, which is dated the 13th of May, to apply for permission to use the green as a location to hold my bodyweight boot camp. My name is Glenn Roberts. I'm a self-employed personal trainer currently working at Vivacity's brand new Premier Fitness facility in Hampton, Peterborough. In this letter, I will explain a little bit about myself and the connection I have to the village, what I'm currently working on, and what I hope to bring to the community in Hilton. Having grown up and lived in Hilton for 11 years, I will always hold the village and its community in high regard. I am a professionally trained classical ballet dancer, vocationally educated at the Royal Ballet School, White Lodge in Richmond Park, London. I was fortunate enough to be awarded a full scholarship for my training. Furthermore, I was subsidised by the Rotary Club with connections to Julian Thomas. After graduating the Royal Ballet School, I embarked on a BA Honours degree in professional dance and performance at the Central School of Ballet. In the last term of my second year, a previous injury where I snapped my femur on my right knee ended my dreams of a professional career in ballet. I have since completed my Level 3 Advanced Diploma in Personal Training through the world-renowned company called Premier Training International. I am also a qualified studio cycling circuits and kettlebell instructor. Since completing my course, I trained to become a fully qualified lineal body balance and lineal body pump instructor, as well as a nutritional advisor. I'm now self-employed, age 20, with a successful and large client base in Peterborough and Stamford. My business name is TMP-Fitness Training Made Personal. Okay, TMP Fitness Training Made Personal. I see problems of obesity, overindulgence and health issues related to a sedentary lifestyle on a day-to-day basis. I saw an opportunity to offer something back to the community I'm fond of in terms of a professional instructed bodyweight boot camp. We need to combat obesity and change people's attitudes towards fitness in order to lessen the pressure on our GPs and healthcare systems later in life. This is something I'm passionate to promote. This leads me on to my proposal to you. I would like to set up my body weight boot camp in Hilton on Sundays at 11 AM. I feel this would be an appropriate time as it is not too early for participants to get up, and this should encourage a greater turnout. I would like to build the class up to a maximum number of 20 people doing functional exercises out in the fresh air. This would also help to stimulate a strong community spirit where friends and family can exercise together without the need for expensive gym memberships. I will charge a rate of £5 a head and a view to block book 4 sessions for £15. With a lot of my friends still in the village and with family members still residing in Hilton, I know I could make this opportunity a success. The minimum age would be 15, accompanied by an adult, or 16 if attending alone. I would use training systems such as PHA, HIIT, endurance, isometric static holds and timed intervals to help achieve a fitter, healthier community. Thank you for considering my application is successful. I hope to see you there. Sincerely, Glenn. Sorry, there you go. So that's the request from Glenn to hold a boot camp on the green.
So who gets the money? Glenn.
Glenn, because it's his business. So I would guess then for the immediate reaction would be that this is not for the benefit of a individual, for profit.
I think to be consistent with what we said last year, it's going to have to be turned down, isn't it? And also, I think we would normally associate this sort of thing with the village hall. I appreciate the open air part of it, but that sort of thing is what would normally be the village hall. We've always said that we wouldn't compete with the village hall.
That's right, you did.
We encourage someone to compete with the village hall.
A dumb question in a way, but if Glenn, for example, wanted to run something like that on the green without asking for payment, but asked for donations, would it be okay or not okay?
Donations to what?
Himself.
To him.
Ah.
Or if you get taxes now, it's like charging money.
I was just thinking what to make for a sound survey now. Whether there's an opportunity.
It's a good idea. Anyway, it's an aside in a sense, but the way things, the way you describe the policy at the minute, you could say it's no. Is it a test case? I don't know.
Yes, maybe the green policy needs to be.
Well, exactly, yeah. I was just thinking, it's just unfortunate timing, but then I think if we have the feedback from the village and we get a large proportion of parishioners saying, well, actually, we would like things happening on the green, that yes, there may be a charge involved, but hey ho, this is the 21st century fine. And if that's what the parish is saying to us,
whether
to take it on board, debate it and vote on it.
Yeah.
But at this time, obviously after the current policy,
Well, yeah.
it falls foul of it.
But it's kind of the guidelines, the unwritten guidelines that have been around since the year docked, isn't it? We've formalised them recently. So I mean,
Well, we've suggested a formalisation.
yes. No, we formalised them before. We've read one. We've now done a second one today. I'm just thinking about what we said last September or last July, whenever it was. We need to be consistent, don't we? And there's always going to be black and white, and there's going to be grey.
I mean, the best you can say to him then, presumably, is the current policy is being advised as it stands. The answer has to be no if you want to have another go in a few months' time.
That's what I was going to ask. So I understand it. We couldn't really say yes now, even if we wanted to, because our current rules don't allow it. But also, personally, I think this is a classic example of why perhaps the current rules could be revisited if people want to do this sort of thing, and the vast majority of the people of Hilton want to do it.
And that's what we've
I agree.
already proposed this evening to
Yeah.
So,
So we've got no choice, we have to write to Glenn
yes.
and say, even if we wanted to say yes, we can't.
Yeah.
But watch this space, because it may change in the future.
Pretty much.
And encourage the families of the village to put forth when the flyer comes down with
Yes.
reasons why they like this kind of activity.
Yeah. Thank you, Simon. So, are you happy with that? Yep. So the proposal will be that we write back to Glenn and say, sorry, no, at this moment in time, there is going to be a consultation.
Well, the new policy is on draft.
Yeah.
It's on the website.
Yeah.
And that's what we.
Yeah.
Whether you direct them towards Village Hall. That's
Yeah, I suppose you could mention that.
Yeah.
That's a good one, but,
fully aware of it. But
he certainly is.
Yes. You happy with that? So I propose that. All in favour? Very much. Which leads us on to 5.4, which is a request from Jane Landucci. Can the PC offer any assistance? It's got a map. Thank you. To gain access to the footpath on the B1040. I've got an email somewhere. Yeah, so, no I haven't. Got the email. It says see email sent separately when I printed this off. this evening when I've dashed in. I think I've studied it, so see you when I send it.
I thought I did send that one. I know I didn't send
What
one
did
before
I
my
get
holiday.
Wi-Fi here to look at?
And nobody's got the
Taxes in the supporting documents.
Irony there.
It's basically short, it had been bounced around and
Could we ask?
Oh, between the
them
owners,
to come?
yes,
Ian
the various people.
Yes, Jane had written to HDC,
Yes,
and this was
been involved and
yes. So the request was that there's a footpath that runs alongside the 1040.
no, it's not.
There's not a footpath that runs along 1040, but the verge is being.
No.
Tell us what you think now.
I've
There
got the emails here.
You tell us, Graham.
Well,
You'd like.
can't have two conversations.
Okay.
Is that? Yeah. No, yeah.
So I'm not sure, are you ready for me?
Yeah, because it's going to contradict what I'm about to say. It needs to come from Jane, is my understanding.
Hang on a sec. This is footpath.
That's the one.
Do you want to read it?
You can read it if you like.
Sorry, go back a bit. Well, what Jane said on the 7th of May, and this was sent to Ian rather than to us, that in the last month, so this was dated the 7th of May, tried to phone Chris Wusson twice, but each time he's not able to speak to me and has not responded to our calls. I wonder if you could please try and contact him so that if, as I suspect is the case, he is not going to finish on this path, we could approach the right department involved to see if we might get the path on the roadside of the 1040. Interestingly, during my inquiries about this footpath, I have learned that the diversion is paid for a certain distance of grass between the ditch and the field. As far as I can see, much of the field is probably right up to the ditch. Those 2 points raised there. And Ian's response. Ian Stock's response, beg pardon. Let's hope that EB is able to make progress. For your information, the payment to be divided into 2 categories depending on the width of the boundary and the management that is applied to it. First is an obligatory 1 metre strip which entitles into a single farm payment worth about £100 per hectare. The second is an optional additional strip to the 1 metre SFP, single farm payment, and the payment depends on the width, maximum 6 metres, and the management applied to it. Thank you for the forward. Does that help?
And then there was an email from Ian Bates to Jane.
Right, Bates. I've had a very quick response from 2 CC officers who, 1, have been in contact directly with Chris Wilson, who has reiterated that he is unwilling to allow openness of footpath down the side of the field. 2, I will forward a complete report from a highways officer who has looked at the opportunities for length along the highway verge. Having read the report, it looks to me to be a very expensive option, which in the present traffic climate CCC could not consider. You may wish to pursue this with Hilton Parish Council. I know you've spoken with other villagers, so please feel free to pass on this information.
Okay, I'm going to take comment from Ian from this because obviously that was his last email.
Just to follow up, I think what Anne has said, I did forward Jane the comments from the Highways Department about the possibility of putting a footpath on the like a roadside.
Yes.
And although in some parts it's quite wide, in some parts of course it's not.
Yes.
And therefore I think you'll find he considered, and I forwarded it to her verbatim, so she's actually got that. So you haven't got that.
No, we haven't got that.
You haven't got that, okay, which basically says consideration, for instance, of safety, particularly at the most narrowest of point, which is actually not at the this end, the village end, but much more down the farther as it goes out of the village. And 2, of course, there needs to be some great consideration because that road does flood very occasionally, as we all know, and therefore there is a ditch on the other side which takes the water off of the road. and that's when the expense piece came in. And reading the Highways Officer's professional view, I think he came to a view that would be nice, but maybe not very practical, bearing in mind there's also lots of telegraph poles down there as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think you'll find he felt that that would be, anything's possible, put it that way,
Yes.
but some things are more difficult. I think this goes into their more difficult. It may be sensible if you ask Jane to forward you that officer's view, because that will influence, I suspect, your view as well.
Because the land, in terms of ownership of the land then, on one side of the fence it's Peter Burton's and Chris has said no,
Absolutely.
and on the other side it's County Council, and they've said we've got no money to do it.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Where is this footpath?
There isn't a footpath at the moment.
No, but where does she want it?
1040. We don't know.
Where?
I've walked it with Jane, so I know exactly where. Okay. What she's talking about actually is, you know where lots of people occasionally park cars and walk their dogs near where the allotments are. There is a footpath there going towards the other road.
Mm.
What Jane was envisaged doing was joining up that footpath so that people from Hilton would be able to walk to that footpath and continue to walk on there. At the moment you can't, and of course also remember it's on the other side of the road, so people would have to cross the B1040 to get onto the new footpath if you had a new footpath. So I have walked it with her, and that was where she had in mind to join current footpath into the village, and you've had the farmer's view and you've had the county's view, and you've had, and that's two officers from the county. The first actually is the highways engineer, and the second one is the rights of way who look after such matters.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. So I think we should ask Jane for that information.
Okay.
Because we need to consider that request further.
But do we? Are we not happy that surely we can't go much further? Okay.
And she has been signposted to the Parish Council. I think it would be right that the Parish Council looks at the information that is available to be able to give its view.
Okay. Well, I have one more point.
Yeah.
So when you get to that footpath, it drops you off at 1198.
Yeah.
And then the footpath that it matches up with is 100 yards further down. So at some point you're going to have to cross the road. So I don't see that the one we did last time, or Keith did last time, had a circular route and therefore had a point.
Yeah.
And it was paid for primarily by Parish Council, S106 or whatever. This one would take you to a footpath and then would take you to 1198, and I don't really see. And also, you see, you can walk on the verge, can't you? I mean, it's interesting, but you can walk along it.
I don't know.
I walked backward before now, that's all right. That's actually right. So I mean, if you're going to walk, if you're going to be brave enough to cross 1198, I think you're brave enough to walk down 1040. So. But it's okay. Well, I'm just saying, it's not just a footpath. It's not like it's a missing link to a complete whatever. It's just one part of a whatever.
I'm sure the parishioner will want to hear that debated and discussed, and then I'll be using my decision.
We have two clear rules on it at the present time, which is the landowner saying no and the county council saying no as well. So let's take that information that the county council will come into consideration and discuss that. Okay. Happy with that? So it will come back onto future agenda. We will ask Jane to forward that information to us. Good. Item 6, which is to consider and decide upon matters relating to finance and risk assessment, which we have. 6.1 to do first. I only say that because it goes 6.1, 6.2, 6.4 and 6.5.
Oh, yeah.
6.3.
So what's in holiday mode? Right.
6.1 is to discuss, to authorise payment of any bills, which we have 6A is Joe's salary, £435 and 6 pence for April. JSC services standing order £575. 6B is Rodney Macon, £120 for mowing the cricket pitch on the 8th, 21st and 30th of May. And then 6C, the one that I haven't, which I've come to now, which was that we had a bill for £3,805.26p, which includes VAT for the removal of PC21, and we had a credit for the fact that the road wasn't actually closed, of £1,510.42, which includes VAT. The non-VAT part of that will be about £1,258, if I remember correctly. So, which is a fantastic result. Thank you, Joe, for persevering.
And also for
and Mr. and Mrs. Collar,
Yes.
Collar, for pointing that out to us, that it hadn't been.
some persistent windows as well, so it's good.
Yeah. So that is 6.1 and 6.2. 6.4 is monies received, and we had £120.76 from Fee Suite for payment of utilities, and £32.70 from Hilton Cricket Club for payment of utilities, which is lovely. So 6.1 is to authorise the payment of those accounts. I'd like to propose that we pay those accounts. Thank you, Anne. All those in favour? Thank you. That's good. I've mentioned 6.4 monies received. 6.5 on the agenda is the audit 2014/15 to be approved by the Parish Council. So our internal Gary has been through the books and has agreed that there are no issues with the accounts. I gave a presentation about the draft figures at the last at the annual parish meeting, and we'll put those figures up on the website now that we have got approval of the figures.
Well, then that's spreadsheet.
Yes, because it shows where the money goes, where it's come from. And on that spreadsheet there is a comparison to the year to 2014, so that people can see the differentials there. Obviously, as I said at the last meeting, we paid the first instalment on the crossing, which was earmarked to come out of reserves. This removal of PC21 was earmarked to come out of reserves at the last year. We earmarked that to come out of reserves. So that's pretty good, I think. So we need to send these accounts to the external auditor for the 8th of June. We need to record it in the minutes that they are approved by the Parish Council, so I'm proposing that the Parish Council approves these accounts. Like I say, Gary has done the internal audit. He signed off. He signed off that he's happy with that, and we send these off to the auditor, and then they, the external audit, after they have agreed, they send it back with a notification period of time to be exhibited on the board. Yes. Fine. Good. Hang on. So I will propose that we accept these accounts.
Thank you. Yes.
And all in favour? Thank you very much.
I give you your hard work. I imagine it's probably going to be not oil, is it?
On Saturday.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item 7 is council's items, information only, no discussion, no decisions. Just
Minor point, in Spectrum there's a re-article by the CPRE, Campaign Protect England, about energy, something I picked up on 18 months ago, but didn't get very far. So I'm simply flagging that I'll go back in touch with them and see whether there's anything of that I would like to put in. No.
Well, no.
I've got an item that I should have mentioned in the green thing. It's to do with the village garden. John Cotter's now left, but I still thank you. Apparently the village garden has been attended to, and there was an outbreak of bindweed that has been attacked. So looking better than it was. Thank you.
How did you do it?
I don't know, but the village garden is better, thank you.
Sorry. The only thing I've got is, I mentioned it to Joe already, but 2 parishioners have spoke to me separately, very concerned about the surveillance camera that has appeared at the bottom of Kidman's Close. Which I'm only mentioning it.
No, sorry, no, we know something, I don't know.
I don't, has there something happened since then?
We're not discussing it, are we?
No, but we know
Can we?
know more about it.
Right.
Thank you, Simon.
Well, as parish council and as to parishioners, I thought it was my responsibility.
I have spoken to one of those parishioners as well.
Okay.
We will.
Big Brother's trivia?
Thank you, everybody. I've got nothing to add except the date of the next parish council meeting will be Monday, July. I'm struggling now because this is going to be about the about 7:30. Hilton Village Hall. Yeah, on the first Monday in July, which, as everybody knows, is the 6th of July. Monday, that's 6th of July. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming.